Yeah, definitely. And again, talking about her mentality,
There's a moment in tennis, a brief, almost invisible moment, that happens before the first ball is even struck, where you can tell which player owns the court and which player is simply surviving on it. And on the evening of April 22, 2026, inside the Estadio Arancha Sanchez Vicario in Madrid, that moment belonged entirely to Alex before Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova even bounced the ball for her first serve, because Pavlyuchenkova had already spent everything she had just getting there, and the draw had handed her the one opponent whose entire existence on a tennis court was designed to punish exactly that kind of exhaustion. This isn't a story about a shocking upset. It isn't a story about a villain and a hero or about controversy cooked up in a media lab to generate clicks. It's a story about what happens when a body that has been at war for 21 years is asked to fight one more battle against a 20-year-old who has been training on that exact same Spanish clay for 8 of them, and what that collision reveals about the brutal, beautiful, quietly heartbreaking nature of professional tennis in 2026. Pavlyuchenkova's resume reads like a greatest hits album from a different era of the sport. 12 WTA titles. French Open finalist in 2021. A career high of number 11 in the world. She is the kind of player who walks into a stadium and the crowd knows they are watching someone who has been through something, who carries the weight of a long career in every step, every swing, every decision made in a split second under pressure. But the Pavlyuchenkova who arrived in Madrid in April 2026 wasn't that player, not entirely, because in 2025, she was diagnosed with Lyme disease, a condition she described in her own words as causing brain fog, constant fatigue, and headaches that wouldn't quit, leaving her bedridden for a stretch of the previous season, barely able to function, let alone compete at the highest level of professional sport. And layered underneath that, a chronic knee injury that had been quietly managing itself since 2023, the kind of thing that doesn't show up in a scoreline but shows up in every lateral movement, every split step, and every moment where a fraction of a second of hesitation is the difference between winning and losing a point. By the time Madrid came around, Pavlyuchenkova had a 0-6 win-loss record in main draw matches across the entire 2026 season. 0 wins, 6 losses.
And she has had a couple of tough roads and a couple of tough opponents in the last few matches. So I'm going to go with her in 3. And she has the, the favorite, I guess, or the higher ranked player in this matchup on this surface. Like I said, she has made a final of a French Open before, and before this week, hadn't won a match for a while. So using that confidence, winning a couple of matches in a row, hopefully will give her some...
That number needs to sit with you for a second. Not one win in 6 attempts at tour level before she even set foot inside the Caja Magica. And this wasn't a player who had quietly faded into irrelevance. This was a player fighting her way back from a neurological illness while her body was simultaneously dealing with a structural knee problem, trying to rebuild match sharpness in a sport where if you step away for even a few weeks you can feel the rust spreading through your game like a slow infection. Just to earn her spot in the main draw in Madrid, she had to qualify. She beat Victoria Tomova 6-3 and 6-2 and then ground through a brutal 3-setter against Yulia Starodubtseva 6-4, 6-7, and 6-4 before she was even in the bracket. 3 matches, 4 days on clay, right thigh already strapped. And then the draw opened up and handed her Alex. Alex Eala is 20 years old. Born in Quezon City in the Philippines. Ranked number 44 in the world at the time of the match, but that number was already being flagged by analysts as quietly deceptive, the kind of ranking that doesn't tell you the full truth about the player wearing it. Earlier in the 2026 season, Alex had climbed to a career high of 29 in the world. The dip back to 44 wasn't a collapse. It was the mathematical side effect of defending a heavy points load from previous results, the kind of thing that happens when you've had a big 12 months and the calendar catches up with you. In professional tennis, players in that position have a specific label. A dangerous floater. Someone whose real ceiling sits well above her current number and who opponents consistently underestimate right up until the moment she's dismantling them from the baseline. Alex had already beaten Aryna Sabalenka, the world number 2, in Miami. That wasn't a fluke. That was a statement. But here's the part of Alex's story that goes beyond rankings and statistics, because she had been training at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca for 8 years. Not 1 season, not a trial stint. 8 years of clay court philosophy, topspin architecture, lateral endurance, and defensive transition built on the same red dirt that defines the sport's most demanding surface. The Estadio Arancha Sánchez Vicario was not foreign terrain to her. She said it herself. Madrid was a home tournament. She lives in Spain. She switches between English and Spanish in post-match interviews without missing a beat. In every structural sense, Alex is a clay court specialist wearing an opponent's ranking, and every single player on the tour who has studied her game knows it. And in the days before the tournament began, she walked into the Laureus World Sports Awards at the Seville Palace in Madrid wearing a custom Filipiniana dress crafted from pina fabric, a textile woven from pineapple leaves designed by her uncle. She stood in the same room as Sabalenka and Carlos Alcaraz, not as a guest, not as someone who scraped their way in on a credential. As a peer. As someone who belongs in that room as naturally as anyone else in it. That is not a background detail. That is a declaration about what Alex represents to a country, to a sport, and to a tournament where she is simultaneously a local resident and a national ambassador for the Philippines, a nation that has watched her career with the kind of quiet, building pride that precedes something historic. And Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova had to play her first. The match started at 7 in the evening, Manila time, an evening slot in Madrid, and that timing mattered more than most people realized. When the sun drops and the clay cools, the ball sits up longer. Rallies extend. Players have to generate their own pace rather than redirect the pace the conditions give them. For Pavlyuchenkova, whose entire game is built on early aggression, first strike tennis, keeping rallies short and punishing any hesitation, cooler clay was already a structural problem before the warm-up finished. She needed the altitude speed that the Caja Magica sits at, 650 meters above sea level, to punch through Alex's defenses. The evening air was quietly working against her before a single ball had been struck in anger. The opening 4 games were competitive. Both players held serve. 2-all. Pavlyuchenkova was mixing drop shots, targeting Alex's forehand, trying to disrupt the rhythm of a 20-year-old who she knew had never seen a Grand Slam final and never carried the weight of a deep major run, trying to use 21 years of experience as a weapon. On paper, she was doing everything right. And then came Game 5 of the first set. Alex broke Pavlyuchenkova to pieces. Unforced errors started appearing. And then in Game 6, Pavlyuchenkova called a medical timeout.
This one means Alex.
She left the court. She came back with her right thigh heavily strapped, and when she walked back onto that clay, the lateral movement that underpins first-strike tennis, the ability to recover quickly, to slide into position and load up for an aggressive ball, was gone. Here is the tactical detail that almost no one framed correctly after this match. After that timeout, Alex didn't attack harder. She didn't rush the net or go for shorter angles or start ripping the ball for winners. She started ballooning the ball, looping it high over the net and deep into the corners, forcing Pavlyuchenkova to retreat behind the baseline and generate pace from a static position, and it looked almost passive to the casual eye. It looked like caution, but it was surgical, because a player who cannot slide laterally, whose thigh is strapped, whose knee has been a problem since 2023, who played 3 qualifying matches in 4 days while still recovering from the neurological damage line. Disease left behind, cannot consistently generate pace from a static position, not against a left-handed opponent whose cross-court angles open the court in directions that right-hand players simply cannot cover naturally without full lateral mobility. Pavlyuchenkova committed 22 unforced errors in the first set alone. 22. Alex committed 8 across the entire match. By the time the first set ended 6-3, it wasn't because Alex had overpowered a veteran. It was because Alex had made Pavlyuchenkova overpower herself, had constructed a set of conditions on that court where the older player's own ambition became the weapon that was dismantling her. The second set confirmed what the first had already written in permanent ink. Alex moved to 3-1, and then somewhere deep in the professional instinct that survives even a broken body, Pavlyuchenkova hit back-to-back aces to trim the deficit to 3-5, and for a brief, genuine moment you could see the ghost of the player who reached number 11 in the world, controlled and powerful and precise. But it was 8 games too late and Alex won 8 consecutive points to reach 5-2 and the match closed 6-3, 6-3. Total time 1 hour and 31 minutes, and for a clay court match that had been framed in certain corners of tennis media as potential chaos, it was almost clinical in how it unfolded from start to finish. Pavlyuchenkova converted 1 breakpoint chance out of 6. Alex converted 4 from 8. The gap between those two numbers isn't about skill in isolation. It's about composure under physical pressure on one side and the complete structural absence of it on the other. Now here's the part where certain channels tried to build a controversy out of thin air, the claim that Pavlyuchenkova was visibly shocked and distraught the moment she saw Alex's name in the draw bracket, that there was some kind of outburst or visible moment of distress at the prospect of playing her. The sourced analysis on this is clear. There was no documented outburst. No confirmed moment. What existed was the cold arithmetic of a player in physical crisis being matched against a clay court specialist who trains in the same city the tournament is held in and a digital sports media ecosystem that needed a headline to wrap around it. Some outlets even dragged in a completely separate event, Alex's emotional loss to Yelena Ostapenko in Linz months earlier, to paint her as some kind of controversial figure, when her conduct in Madrid was described across the board as professional, focused, and respectful from the first ball to the last. The controversy was the headline. The reality was the unforced error count. But underneath all of that noise lives the question that actually matters, and it's the one that the controversy framing quietly buries because it's less exciting than drama.